Any youngster who has put a basketball through a hoop has visions of becoming one of the NBA greats, to be just like magic, to be just like magic.
He handles the ball extremely well. A real winner at the high school level in Pennsylvania, did an outstanding job at Syracuse, and he can do it all.
Billy Eugene Owens, born May 1st, 1969. As a storyteller with a passion for basketball, many stories swirl my mind as features I hope to bring to you one day. But the story of Billy Owens stuck out to me as a great example for young hoopers to understand that as a child, dreaming of being able to have basketball be your living blurs your expectations of what that actually means. You see your favorite players do one-of-a-kind things, and you dream of being just like them as they appear so happy to be on that stage when the lights are bright. But what happens when those lights go out? What happens when you realize you don't have a choice what team you will play for like you did coming into college? What happens when the team you grew fond of trades you? Or when you aren't performing well because you can't find that same comfort on the floor you once had? What's life like then as a player that spent his entire life building his existence as one person? Not many know the answers to all those questions, but I'm sure if you ask today's feature, he can talk extensively for hours about a picture that by the end of the conversation would look a lot like what his bathroom mirror sees every morning. Basketball at the highest levels is a business. It's the one constant you need to remember and prepare yourself for, because that fact will never change and become more of a factor going forward now that athletes are able to earn money with their amateur status. The first lesson I ever learned attending a Division I school was that this was no longer for fun. Everything you do from then on will affect your adult life forever, and not too many people are built for that, believe it or not. Billy Owens stated just as much when interviewed by the Sentinel a few years ago about why his career didn't turn out like many thought it should, as one of, if not the best player to ever come out of the state of Pennsylvania. He was so good in high school, he never lost a state playoff game and won 4 straight state championships. He was equally tremendous individually in college, starting every game and increasing his output every year until his numbers looked video game-like his junior and final season. Kevin Durant walked up to Billy Owens, standing on the side as his daughter waited for an autograph from Durant, and told Owens he studied him on film more than any player and that he was an inspiration. That had to have felt beautiful to a guy that's aware many consider a bust, and I'm thankful he was able to get that flower from another all-time great. He was expected to become the next Magic Johnson and fell levels short. Here's what stunted Billy Owens' growth. Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Billy Owens was a 6'9", 3-position player from Carlisle, Pennsylvania that was 6'3" as a freshman in high school, growing up a student of the game, and would cry in the car when his brother would lose state basketball games, to which he promised his father he would never do. He grew to 6'9" by his senior year, winning a historic 4th state championship in a row. He idolized Magic Johnson, even wearing 32 because of him, and dreamed of one day playing for the Lakers as a point guard and leader. He became a McDonald's All-American in 1988, winning the game's co-MVP with Alonzo Mourning. He was a power forward that could dribble, score, distribute, and always made the right plays as one of the first point forwards. He chose Syracuse and immediately started on a 30-8 upperclassmen starting 5 that made it to the regional finals of the NCAA tournament. Stunt number 1, the holdout. Billy Owens did not have the college career he wanted compared to what he did in high school, as his 30-win freshman team would be the best he had at Syracuse. By his sophomore season's end, he was a first-team All-Big East performer at over 18 points, 4 assists, and 8 rebounds. He also increased his three-point shooting from low 20s as a freshman to a respectable 31%, which he'd increase even more as a junior to 39%. Not bad for a guy in an era the three-point line had only been around since his senior year in high school. In his junior season at Syracuse, he averaged 23 points, almost 12 rebounds, and was named the Big East Player of the Year and first-team All-Conference for a second time. His numbers easily made him a top 5 prospect in 1991 as he entered the draft, where he was taken 3rd overall by the Sacramento Kings. Owens was happy to now be in the NBA, but hated it was the Sacramento Kings who selected him, since they were one of the worst teams in the league at 25-57 prior, when Billy valued winning. But in hindsight, maybe the Kings is somewhere he could have carved his own niche in the league, at least individually, and who knows what effect he would have had on winning. He held out 4 months to force a trade, and the Kings obliged, sending him to Golden State without playing a game for them in a trade that broke up the infamous Run TMC and one Don Nelson calls the worst trade he's made and the one regret of his coaching career. Stunt number 2, Run TMB. In his 3rd season, Mitch Richmond was already a star for the Golden State Warriors and their second leading scorer. He, along with Tim Hardaway and Chris Mullin, brought an exciting brand of basketball that was poised to at least contend out west at some point should they remain the core. Later, Mitch Richmond would become a 6-time NBA All-Star and Hall of Famer. Many don't remember he was traded for rookie holdout Billy Owens before the 91-92 season that broke up Run TMC in favor of what was supposed to be the next Magic Johnson and transcendent talent. Looking at it now, I can see why Don Nelson would call this trade the biggest basketball mistake he's ever made, because beside the obvious reasons, Owens really never had a chance to be a better fit with Mullin and Hardaway, because if he was going to be, that would mean Hardaway and Mullin would have had to suffer, all for Owens to strive. If he was indeed the next Magic, that would be fine, but he was anything but that, and not just in production. In the NBA, Billy's game looked much like what his position said, a power forward. He didn't show much capabilities as a point forward, even though occasionally he'd get the rebound and go coast to coast. But easily you could see he couldn't shoot like his junior college season suggested. In fact, for the Warriors, he shot at least 20% just once and rarely attempted an NBA 3 in that span, or over his career for that matter. Losing sharpshooter Richmond for that was a killer for the Warriors, who won one playoff game in Owens' 3 seasons with the team. Stunt number 3, couldn't find comfort. Which brings me to his 3rd growth stunt, one that began the story and may have been the most important. Besides knee injuries, that was also a growth stunt for Owens. Much deeper was him not fitting personality-wise with what being a professional required in the business of basketball. It was never comfortable, Owens recalls of his NBA career, and from the beginning you could understand why. It started with his infamous 4-month holdout, not wanting to play for the losing Sacramento Kings, to being traded to the Warriors and having to fill the role of what Mitch Richmond was building in Golden State. As a rookie, he was pretty solid at 14-8, being named first-team All-Rookie. He improved in his 2nd year and hovered around those numbers for the next 3 years in the league, but was never close to the production and excitement Mitch Richmond was and what the fans expected, so he never really found a comfortable home. He was then traded to the Miami Heat before the 94-95 season, where he spent a year and a half before being traded to the Kings mid-season, a team he clearly never saw himself fitting with, only to have to spend his next 2 seasons. He became a journeyman from 98-99 until knee injuries made him a shell of himself by just 29. He finished his NBA career in 2001 with the Pistons and has been called one of the biggest NBA busts of all time. All in all, Billy Owens still played 10 seasons in the NBA and fulfilled his dream of getting there, but all is not won because you finally made it. A lot has to go as planned for you to reach your full potential, and whether you understand or not, the business of basketball never stops once it begins. He was a great high school player, outstanding college player, but he just couldn't figure out the NBA and positions he was put in. So for these reasons, his growth was stunted. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth, and I'm out.